brother, your Monday reset keeps failing. And when that tends to happen to people, they normally go through a number of different solutions. Maybe, just maybe, it's your willpower. Maybe if you wanted it more, maybe if you just really willed yourself to do it, it would work. Or maybe you just don't have the right apps. Maybe if you try this one, maybe you try Notion, Calendar, right? All these different apps. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe once I find the most optimal app, I'll finally be able to focus and get things done. Or maybe it's just your routine, right? Maybe it's just not optimal enough. Maybe if instead of waking up at 7, you wake up at 6, right? You wake up at 6, straight into a cold shower, 5 mile jog, 15 sit ups, then you'll finally be in the right mental state to lock in. But it doesn't work because you probably tried all three of these different things only to end up right back in the same situation. And the reason why, well, let's take a look at this guy right here. This is Bill. I want you to tell me what Bill is doing. I'll give you 5 seconds. Bill is coughing. That wasn't a trick question. Bill is coughing. So Bill goes to the doctor. He's like, Doc, I've been coughing. I've had this cough for the past 2 months. Help. So Doc is like, all right, Bill, here's some cough drops. Bill is like, well, okay. Bill takes the cough drops. He goes home, pops one in his mouth. And what do you know? Just hit my mic on accident. But what do you know? Bill all of a sudden is not coughing anymore. And he won't cough maybe for 1, 2, 3 hours. But then the cough comes back. So Bill takes another one, right? And, again, he'll stop coughing, but the cough is always going to come back because what the doctor did was they solved the symptom, right? And when you solve the symptom, yeah, it'll go away, but it's always going to come right back. Same with these things up here, right? These are merely solutions to the symptom. If you're a high performer or entrepreneur who's tired of distractions, dopamine loops, or inconsistent execution, I'm opening up 5 private spots for a one-on-one program this month. It's the beta version of a new coaching program where I'll work with you personally for the next 30 days, helping you eliminate distractions, master dopamine, and lock in on the goals that you've been avoiding. Whether that's scaling a business, getting a personal project off the ground, or simply rebuilding deep focus. This program is built to get you results fast without burnout. And no, it's not some course, and it's not a group either, though you get both of those as well. It's just me and you, mapping out a custom focus system and executing it together. Though there are only 5 spots available. So if you're interested, click the first link in the description or in the comment section below and fill out the short form to apply. No fluff, no pressure, just results. Now, let's get back to the video. G-O-M. Right? They're solutions to the symptom. They're not solving the core. The problem with Bill is that there's a gaping hole in his lungs, right? Because of that, the cough is going to keep coming back. So until that core of the issue gets solved, Bill is going to keep coughing. Until the core issue, when it comes to your attention, when it comes to your focus, is resolved, then it's going to keep coming back. Because the real problem here is not that you just lack motivation, or don't want it enough, or that you can't focus. It's simply that your environment makes distraction easier than progress. That's a very grave problem to deal with. And as someone who's had this problem and solved it for himself, the diagnosis is that you're not lazy. It's not that you just can't focus. It's not that you just can't lock in. You're simply fragmented. Because of that fragmentation, you find yourself going through this constant loop. That starts with hope. You always start hopeful. You wake up every Monday, every day. Today is the day. Today is the day I finally lock in. I'm feeling real like a go-getter. I'm going to get a lot done today. This is the one. But then the pressure hits. It always does. That pressure, I need to get to this point. I have to achieve this goal. I should have been here already. So that pressure comes in. The chaos of life. Because of that pressure, what happens? You start to avoid. Because the overwhelming pressure of trying to achieve these things, of trying to learn that skill, of trying to finish that side project, right? That pressure comes and then you start to avoid. Oh, this is too hard. I don't think I can do it. So you just don't. And then that makes you feel guilty. The guilt starts to hit. Oh, another day wasted. I wasted another week. There's no point. Might as well just keep scrolling. Might as well keep watching Netflix. Might as well keep playing video games, right? That guilt is what causes you to carry out these negative habits that lead you away from your goal. And then the cycle just repeats itself. Eventually, you'll catch yourself like, oh my goodness, I haven't done anything for a month. Time to lock in again. Now you're feeling hopeful, but again, that cycle is simply going to repeat itself because within the cycle, rather, the cycle is contained within the same environment. Right? The cycle is within the same environment, and as long as that environment stays the same will be for your result, right? So in order to get a different result, you need to change your environment. But how exactly does one do that? Very good question you just asked. Um, and the solution, right? It's a very simple 3-step system. First, you want to subtract, then you want to activate, and last, you want to protect. Again, these seem like, okay, what do these 3 words have to do with anything? Another great question. Let's get right into it. First, subtraction. Realize that productivity is not additive, it is subtractive. But what does that mean? Well, this is Mike, right? This is Mike right here. Now, Mike, he's overweight. Mike wants to lose weight. He's actually been on a weight loss journey for the past 3 months. He's exercising. He's on a consistent diet. Mike is locked in. But then one day, right, Mike, he sits down at his table, and there's this bowl. I don't know why Mike has a Red Bull, but in this Red Bull is his favorite flavor of mint chocolate chip ice cream. Imagine this is mint chocolate chip ice cream, right? Chat the chocolate chips in here, right? Mike's got his favorite bowl of mint chocolate chip ice cream. And again, Mike's a pretty tough guy, so Mike holds out. Mike's got a good amount of willpower. Mike's got a good amount of motivation, so he's like, I am not eating that ice cream. Eventually, let's imagine this ice cream doesn't melt for some reason. An hour goes by, 2 hours go by, and eventually Mike's willpower starts to wane away. It starts to fade away, and eventually Mike folds. Not because he's weak, not because he didn't want it bad enough, but because he was human. Because the temptation was right in front of him, it was only a matter of time before Mike ate the ice cream. So, again, Mike's environment is what caused him to let go of the diet, right? So you need to make what? Distraction physically harder to reach. The reason that you find it so easy to go into these vices, to pick up your phone, to hop on YouTube, pick up the game, it's because it's so close to you, right? Your phone is right on your desk whenever you're working, right? Just a notification away, just a little flash, and all of a sudden 3 hours are gone, right? Your video game, right? The controller, it's right there. All you got to do is switch the tab. You can hop on Netflix, right? Because of these distractions, because they're right in front of you, then there's really no barrier preventing you from picking them up the second things get a little difficult or the second they get a little boring. So once you create that barrier, once you separate yourself from the distraction, once it's no longer in your visible area, your visible space of the things that you can see, if you can't see it, it's not a problem. It doesn't exist to you. Then what's left? You and the work, you and the thing that you need to do in order to achieve your goal. And when it's just you and the work, there's no decision to be made. There's no temptation to be had. You simply get done what needs to get done. Next, there is activate. You need to activate. Right here, this is the human brain. And our brain throughout the day is going to be at different stages. And normally, what you're coming out of is a reactive stage or a reactive mode. Right, long day of work, reacting to a lot of different things. You got to hit this deadline, finish that project, right? A lot can go on within the day. So your brain is in reactive mode, reacting to all of the stimuli going on externally. But then there comes the phase that you want to get to, this phase of deep work, this phase where now you're working on your personal growth, whether that's achieving this skill, finishing this side project that you've been working on, right? Learning this thing, right? Whatever the case is, you need to enter a stage of deep work in order to accomplish that thing. The problem is you instantly try and go from reactive mode into deep work mode. And that doesn't work. Our brains aren't able to handle such a transition from A to B, right? There needs to be some sort of phase in between there. Because again, when you try and go from reactive mode to deep work, just instantaneously with a snap, well, your brain's not going to switch. Then you're doing your deep work task in a state of reactive work, which is why you just don't want to do it anymore, which is why it's so easy to just pick up that distraction. Because your brain's been in reactive stage for so long, the second you try and switch to something else, it's like, man, I've been at this for too long. I need a break. So you pick up your phone, rest a little bit, and all of a sudden it's 1 o'clock in the morning and you got to go to sleep for the next day. So what do? Very simple. You need a boredom window, right? You need a window in between this phase, right? In between this phase where your brain is able to seamlessly transition. And this has to be a place with no inputs. So this doesn't have to be something fancy outside of the box. It's very simple. You could take a walk, do some exercise, just go outside in nature, talk to somebody, have a conversation, right? Do something that kind of gets you out of that reactive mode that allows your brain, not too stimulating, right? Read a book that kind of allows your brain to transition, right? It allows it to escape that reactive mode. Okay, I'm no longer reacting. Just calm, right? It's allowing you to process everything that went on during that reactive stage, and then when you go into that point of deep work, there's no resistance, right? There's no resistance. Your brain had a chance to take an actual break, right? The reason you always pick up your phone, the reason you get distracted is because your brain is seeking that rest, and you're not giving it. You're not giving the rest to your brain, so it seeks the easiest way to achieve it possible, which more than likely is your phone, Netflix, video games, whatever that device is for you. So you need a boredom window, no inputs, because when you get bored, things get done. And that's why you're watching this video. You want things to get done. So this is what you need to do. If you follow the 3 steps that I'm giving you right now, you're going to get things done. Very simple, not too complicated, right? So use a boredom window. And again, doesn't need to be complicated, doesn't need to be crazy, doesn't even need to be long. Take a walk for 10 minutes. I just like going out in nature. I find nature very calming. It allows me to think. It allows me to process my thoughts. Once that's done, right back to work, right? It's nothing complex. I like keeping things simple. And third, you need to protect. Step 3 is protect, right? 30 minutes, same time, every evening, right? Again, you need to get your brain used to doing this task at this specific time, right? Get it in a rhythm. We have a circadian rhythm. If you sleep at the same time, wake up at the same time every single day, eventually you're not going to need an alarm anymore because your brain has become used to waking up at 7, 6 o'clock, going to sleep at, 10, 12, whatever the case is, right? Okay, this is what we want to do, but for work. And to give you an example, this is Joe, right? And this is Mo. And they're identical twins, right? They've lived the same life, went to the same elementary, middle, high school, worked the same job, have the same friends. They are literally identical. You can't even tell the two apart, right? But one day, Joe and Mo, they're like, man, we got to get locked in. Let's get in shape. So they want to go to the gym. And Joe, he's like, all right, I'm going to go 2 hours hardcore every single day, 7 days a week, right? And Mo, he's like, well, yeah, I'm going to do that too. But obviously, things are going to happen. At the very least, every day I'm going to do 100 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 squats, right? Again, what ends up happening is, again, Joe, Mo, they're pretty busy guys. They're not able to hit that 2 hours in the gym every single day. But in Joe's case, he's like, man, I'm not going to be able to, work out today. I'll just do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and he's like, I'll just do it tomorrow. Then the next day comes, I'll just do it tomorrow, right? Joe keeps putting it off because he missed one day. And now he's trapped in that cycle of guilt that we saw earlier. And now he's not working out at all. Mo, on the other hand, again, he gave himself that minimum viable option, right? Yes, Mo is aiming for that 2 hour period, but he's not going to be able to get it every day. He's going to miss it sometimes. So at the very least, Mo's like, okay, can't hit the gym today. But at the very least, I'm going to do 100 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 squat. He gets it done. Even, Mo's house explodes, meteors start crashing down from the earth, and Mo is going to get that workout in. Because Mo made it so small that it would be silly not to do, right? It needs to be small enough for you to do it on your worst day, right? Just have the goal, have the standard, but in the event, which is going to happen, that you are not able to get to that metric, hit that number, then do something so small that it would be idiotic to not do. Because what we're training here is that consistency muscle. Consistency beats intensity every single time, right? Again, going intense, right? You might be able to get 7 days in a row, but eventually you're going to burn out. Then you're going to be cooked. It's like, I can't do it anymore, right? Now you're stuck in a cycle of guilt. You're not getting anything done. But when you train that muscle of consistency, we're trying to keep the snowball rolling. It's not a matter of how much we're doing, but how often it's getting done. Snowball analogy, right? You've heard of the snowball effect. The snowball starts small and it'll keep rolling, right? I can just draw it out actually. let's make a snowball, right? This is a ramp, little snowball. Eventually becomes a really big snowball, right? Because it picked up, gathering mass as it was rolling down. What normally happens is somewhere around here, you make a mistake. And then you just stop altogether, like, I can't believe I missed. This is, I'm terrible. I can't do this. And you just give up, right? So then you have to start all the way over back here because eventually that snow is going to melt after a long time of not doing anything. So you got to start the snowball again. But what you should do is, okay, yeah, this is going to happen. It's natural. We're human, right? You're going to get to this point. But then instead of just quitting altogether, you just move the snowball a little bit. Just take a little move, right? Again, the key here is to keep the ball rolling and not to quit. Because if you hit that minimum, that least, that minimum viable standard, eventually you're going to get back to the point where you can, hit that normal goal again, right? So if you set a goal of 30 minutes a day, you can't do it. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to do 10. And after you do 10, you go back to 30, right? The goal is to keep the ball moving. Even if you do a single minute, it does not matter because you're training the consistency muscle in your head. Once that muscle is built, once you're in that rhythm, there's nothing that will be able to stop you. So, to conclude, right, understand that scattered attention is a design problem. It's not a character flaw. Once you fix the design, once you fix the environment, your attention won't be scattered anymore. Very simple. SAP. Subtract, activate, protect. Very simple 3 steps. You follow these 3 steps, you're going to build your attention back. Because you don't need to overhaul your life. You don't need to change, reinvent the wheel. You don't need to do something revolutionary. You simply need to make the right thing easier than the wrong one. So, hopefully you found some value in this video, and hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you realized that your attention problem, it's really a very easily fixable system issue. So, if you want to learn something new, click this video here